Welcome there, guys. Welcome to today's show. I'm here with Cheri and also SERENA on the call today. We're talking cybersecurity and can you guys be hacked? I'm pretty sure you can, and Cheri's going to tell us exactly how much you can be hacked and what can be hacked, and she's going to tell us heaps of stuff today. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrod. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. So Cheri is she's from the US. It's really late there or it's later there in New York. I believe you're in New York at the moment, correct?
On East Coast, in Carolinas.
Oh, beautiful. So she's filmed in here for us today, and she's going to be talking specifically around cybersecurity. She's done many different types of government contracts, etc. She's a cybersecurity authority, a consultant in the US Air Force. She's a US Air Force veteran, author, public speaker, virtual vCISO, with a background in financial services, automotive, military, and US government security. Cheri advises executives and entrepreneurs on a diverse array of information, security risk assessments, cybersecurity vulnerabilities, incident response, business continuity plans, data leaks, and breaches. Ooh. When you want a cybersecurity problem handled at discretion, she is your woman. So thanks so much for tuning in. For a lot of people will probably be wondering, like, what is cybersecurity like, and why is it important to someone?
Okay, great. Well, we'll start with the fundamentals. Essentially, cybersecurity is the process of protecting information by preventing, detecting, and responding to an attack. And that's a formal definition from the cybersecurity framework that the US government puts out. It's essentially protecting your information systems, your network, your programs, and your data from digital attacks, hence the focus on cyber. It can also, its assessments can also include physical spaces like environmental controls, how cool your servers are, whether people can get physical access to your facilities, if you're co-hosted, that sort of thing. But essentially, the goal of someone trying to hack your system is to access, change, or destroy your sensitive information, to extort money from users, such as ransomware, or just to interrupt your normal business process. And there are three pillars of cybersecurity. We call it the triad. Just picture a triangle like this. You have confidentiality, integrity, and availability. An example of confidentiality would be someone trying to steal your intellectual property, your IP, or your trade secrets, or in a government case, classified information. But essentially, somebody trying to get access to data they shouldn't have their hands on to use it for whatever nefarious purposes. Typically, it's financially motivated for people who want to sell it for profit on the dark web. But sometimes it can be a script kiddie, somebody who just doesn't really have good hacking skills, but gets a copy of a software script and just runs an attack with an automated tool. Kind of low level, beginner level, we call script kiddies. But they can still do damage. And it's kind of like you picture your teenage hacker sitting in mom's basement, drinking Mountain Dew Code Red with orange fingers from the Cheetos. You can have that sort of person disrupt your business as well. They don't typically do it for financial gain. They do it for bragging rights. It's just everybody, well, I hacked this and I hacked that. So it's kind of the mentality, but usually it's up to no good. And you have really three groups. The black hat hackers are the bad guys, the people who try to do things for nefarious and ill will purposes, the bad actors. You have the white hat hackers, the people who understand defense and offense in order to protect and defend things. I'm more of a white hat hacker. And then you have a little bit of a gray area where people who kind of do a little bit of both. But anytime people do that, I highly recommend you have written authorization from the client, the person that you're helping out, so you don't get blamed or sued or arrested and prosecuted and put in jail, because you're on a fine line there between what's legal and what's not legal. And depending on where you are in the world, what your jurisdiction is, there are a lot of legal ramifications for this type of activity. So that's very important. Always have written authorization and have an agreement on what you can touch, what you can assess, and what you don't want looked at. So always respecting the confidentiality of the person. So that's the first pillar, confidentiality. Any questions so far? Anyone? Before I move on to the other two pillars of the triad.
Keep going, hitting us with it.
Okay, and the second pillar of the triad is integrity. And that's essentially making sure that nobody gets an access to your database and either deletes or alters your data. Make sure everything is as you want it. So it could be your website, it could be something as simple as your backend database, or the way you're taking credit card payments on paper, for example. But there are two types of thoughts there. You can have an attacker who really wants to cause damage, and you have another one who just wants to be a nuisance. Now, the person who really wants to damage the integrity of your data will just come in and wipe out your complete database and have you start from zero, and especially if you didn't have a backup, or hold your data for ransomware. But a more nefarious person would be actually to go in and alter the data just slightly so as not be detected. And this is where understanding an offensive mindset helps you be on a defensive mindset. So it's like football or any sport, soccer. To understand, you have to mount a good defense, you have to understand the offense. So from the really nefarious mindset, somebody wouldn't just delete the data because that would be discovered immediately. And then possibly somebody could restore from a backup. But if somebody really wanted to cause damage to a business, say your competitor, what they could do is have somebody hack in and not change something so drastically that would be noticed. For example, if you're also doing direct mail, they could just slightly alter mailing addresses, just one digit or two, and have you spend a lot of money on mailing something out, and it would go to the wrong addresses and kick back and cost you a ton of money, and you wouldn't know it had happened until it was too late. Whereas with a denial of service attack or a database attack where they delete your data, you would notice immediately, and then you'd be able to jump on it and remediate it, fix it quickly. So it could be really bad, or it could be an oh crap moment. So depending on who the person trying to get into your system is, that's mainly integrity. So any questions on that from the field, from you guys?
So like we're talking like things like credit card details and data that is assets for a business, right? And if someone was to jump in and to hack into any one of these areas and either alter things in marketing or change things or whatever, right? Like, how can a business go about protecting themselves as well? Because I know some businesses, they do recorded calls and for their salespeople, and it's if they were to tap into some of them, there's some personal information and data there from clients. Like, how does someone protect themselves against this sort of stuff?
Well, it could be an example of Facebook ad campaigns where somebody could go in and copy that and alter that some way. I'd recommend, first of all, just enabling two-step verification where they have to verify your identity to get access there. I'd recommend you change your passwords frequently. Make sure they're very complex passwords, but not so complex that you forget them. Possibly use a password manager to keep track of those. I change mine really long. I change mine every 30 days on a system that I've come up with that I can memorize, just changing part of it on a recurring basis, for an example. But I'd also recommend that you're doing a self-assessment and use some automated tools to check for vulnerabilities. So that kind of bleeds over between confidentiality and integrity. And whenever you're having third-party vendors who, like say PayPal or some other vendors, Venmo, whoever you use for your third-party, Stripe, whatever credit card or merchant account you use, make sure that they have been certified and checked off as being compliant with PCI DSS. That's Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. There are a lot of laws and regulations I won't go too deep in the technical details of, but around cybersecurity and privacy, there are a lot of governmental and organizational requirements that really get you in trouble. Two I'll mention specifically are Europe with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. So it's not just where you're operating your business. If you have clients that reside in Europe, you want to get familiar with the GDPR. California has a new privacy law that just came out in January. 2 other states, especially in financial services, have strict privacy laws. So it's a matter of being compliant with laws and protecting customers' data, as well as the security of what you're handling, whether it's credit card or customer data, personally identifiable information, we call PII. Personally identifiable information is things that can be attributed to an individual. So you want to keep that especially protected. So I'll have a tip sheet at the end of this that people can opt in for through you, Jarrod, that you're the host, and I'll be able to send them a one-pager PDF with some quick tips that are kind of hard to describe here.
That's amazing, right? Because cybersecurity is something like, it's something that not a lot of people talk about and not a lot of people understand as well. And it's important that everyone does understand this, because they just don't know how much they are at risk of having things completely taken out from under them, right? So like anything from a website just taken down by someone, or all of your customer data taken, and especially if you're handling information, sensitive information like credit card details, it's an area of like a business online that really probably a lot of people aren't thinking of right now. Like a lot of people are thinking of getting their business online and how do I survive at the moment, or how do I pivot, or whatever people are mainly thinking at the moment. But they're not taking into account like what could happen. Like they spend all this time, all this effort getting things online, all this time, all this effort getting their marketing right and everything, and they're forgetting about, you know, the security side to it as well. Like, could I be hacked? Could things be taken and I have to start all over again? Or, you know, could they hold me to ransom? I've heard of situations where people have, you know, held people to ransom for things as well, as a result of being hacked by somebody. And
let me cut in there, Jarrod, and tell you a little story that happened to me.
Yeah.
But just to go back to when she was talking about the two-step authority for Facebook, about 10 years ago, I had an ex staff member actually, but a lot of people get their Facebooks hacked, or sometimes they think they're hacked and they're not. Someone's just redone their profile and starting to attack their friends and get them as their friends. So with you have a Facebook business page and you're the admin of that page, if somebody hacks your Facebook, they take over your business page, kick you out, and then they become the admin, and then nobody else can come in and take it. Now, I had that happen to me. My page is still up there to this day, 10 years later. I have, you know, at the time, followed up Facebook to get it down or get it back to me. I had all the proof, my business history and everything. Of course, Facebook didn't give a damn. So to this day, I've never been able to get that page back. So with Facebook, anything that's really very important to your business, apart from a two-step whatever, I also have an SMS code. And to me, no one's got the phone except for me. So no one can, that was why we couldn't get our page back, because there was a phone number to it. So that's how strong that system is for a Facebook. The other one, when you're talking about the website, this is not internal where they can actually get in and hack through your website or anything like that. This is external. And you talk about being framed or whatever that word was you said. Our website was taken down through a DOS attack. So it was nothing internal. It came from outside. They didn't even need to get in. The DOS attack was so vicious that, of course, the hosting company took the website down. And, you know, they had to, because it was affecting, you know, their business. And these people actually had the gall to blackmail us. If you want your website back up, you know, pay so much money. So there's quite a bit of stress that went through with that. But it's easy to do. So you need to make sure then that your hosting company is protected as well against DOS attacks as well, which Cheri, I guess you would know about that also.
Yes, I'm sorry that happened to you, SERENA. Wow. So that actually is a great segue to the third pillar of the triad, the triangle, and that's availability. So you mentioned a DOS attack. That's the denial of service, or DDoS, distributed denial of service. That's where either bots or multiple people get together to attack. Like, say, a hacker group like Anonymous may come up with some group that they really want to hack, and they'll not just do a DOS attack. They'll do a distributed denial of service where they hammer them from all over the world at the same time. And basically that just sucks up the bandwidth, and it makes the service provider go down. So you'll see a spike in activity, and it makes the server unavailable. Basically, you'll see people using it in marketing. My server crashed. We had so many orders, my server crashed. Well, likely if your server crashed, it wasn't from your orders. It was probably a hacker and you just want to be discreet about it. But I kind of chuckle to myself when I see those. And, you know, in the internet marketing space, I've seen that for the past several years. And we had so many orders, my server crashed. Well, your server can crash for a number of reasons. It could overheat due to not having the right environmental controls. It could be a hacker, or it seriously could be capacity planning where you didn't have enough you know, capacity for that thing. But usually it's something ill-intended, something nefarious, and typically a hacker or hackers, plural. So, and unfortunately right now with the coronavirus, COVID-19 going around, you would think that they would take a break, but it's actually increased. And there are a number of domains. This is kind of the segue away from the availability, with keeping the website available and having the uptime, if you will. So make sure your hosting provider has backup or failover if the primary servers go down. And always have a backup. Backup your data, backup everything that's valuable to you on a regular basis. I recommend daily if you can manage it, but that's just a tip. But right now, with so much free time, I'm sorry, go ahead.
These hackers are getting bored, right?
They're getting bored, and they're getting more into stuff. And unbelievably, they're attacking hospitals. You'd think they would just, like, that would be the one thing that you're leaving alone now, would be the front.
They're attacking hospitals?
In the medical space, the attack number has increased. They're attacking more hospitals because the people are busy. they're busy saving lives. So the medical supplies, and there's more in the supply chain. So one of the easiest, the third parties, the people you do, it's like, say for example, the Target hack, you remember a few years back, they didn't actually hack Target, they hacked a third party that Target was affiliated with and came in that way to get their data. So third and fourth parties, your vendors, your supply chain, the people you do business with also pose a risk to you. It's not just you and your people and your data, it's the people that interface and touch that data on the third party or the fourth party. So that's just one example. So as more supplies come in and they're trying to get more PPE, there are more people that are in touch. There's more communication, so there are more attack services. So when you have a broader range of communication and a faster pace of communication, you just have a lot more data flowing. And just as an example, and they're actually attacking hospitals more than ever. And more domains have popped up related to coronavirus and COVID-10. There's a group of security researchers I actually volunteer with this through the Standards Institute. It's a security training institute. And they have a worldwide call for the white hat hackers to get together and research domain names that have popped up that have the keyword for SEO, search engine optimization purposes, that have coronavirus, or COVID-19 in the domain name. And so there are thousands of those that have popped up. So security researchers have volunteered to go through those one by one, and not from a computer that you'd use for business, but a computer that you don't care if it gets hacked and torn up and you have to rebuild. This is probably not a good site that you're going to, right? So that's why I asked the nerds to go.
There's been a lot of domains I've seen pop up, and like you get sent them on email from cold email outreach campaigns. You just see them around the internet posted. You get added by people on Facebook as well who have just started up brand new website, like brand new Facebook accounts. And you can tell that quite simply, and there's brand new like domains and everything on there, right? Like it's, how does someone tell whether it's a brand new domain and it could potentially they could potentially be at risk if they clicked on it, or like is there a way to be able to tell?
Well, personally, I look up the registrar to see when it was registered. So when the people register a domain name, a top level domain name on the internet, they have to fill out the form and contact the registrar. So there's always a public record of whoever the registrar is, and look at the date it was registered and who actually registered it. But just as a general practice, don't click on, it's like phishing. Don't click on unknown links and things people pass along. People can put anything in the chat. And if you just trust it, click on it, you don't know where it's taking you, what sort of malware it might be downloading to your system, or you don't even know exactly what's happening in the background. Same with the silly games that go around. I don't play those. So people send them to me. If they get offended because I don't play, tough. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I don't play games because a lot of malware is hidden in the games that people pass around and the different links. Just as another example. So there's that. But I would recommend that you just be very careful about what links you click. And if you want to look up the new domain names, look at the registrar, or just wait for us to finish this specifically the COVID-19 coronavirus project, and that'll be published in a report fairly soon. And you can also, there's a good website that's government sponsored. It's called the IC3.gov. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Center. I is in India, C is in Charlie, the number 3.gov. IC3. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Centers where people all around the world can report crimes, cyber crimes, and you'll see information there as well, along with tips that you can get for free. It's in the public domain from the US government.
Okay. Cool.
You don't have to pay for all this information. There's a lot out there. Just make sure you trust your source.
Yes.
They're also saying that because it just said the site couldn't be reached. That's interesting. I know it came up after. So it had something come up first. A lot of I went for a search on hackers because I was thinking. Stop that, Jarrod. I was thinking, I wonder what they're doing right now with all this coronavirus going on. So I went and had a check, and the biggest thing that we had to sort of also watch out for is there was new apps popping up. People are saying, go to this app and, see what's going on with the coronavirus. And yet some of those apps were the very ones that were going to be able to hack you with all your information. Yes. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. The apps and the games and anything that's geared. As a matter of fact, I covered this on the Cyber Show a few episodes back. Don't get your apps from anywhere except the official source. If it's Apple, get it from the App Store. Google Play, whatever you get it from, just get it from the official source. Third party. Third party risk is huge. Anytime you get your app from a third party other than the official authorized source, it's kind of like getting software from other than the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. You want to get your hardware, your computers from the original source. You don't want to get them bootleg. You know, you don't want to, oh, I have a discount for you, or somebody selling them out the back of the trunk, you know, or, you know, along with the seaside, roadside seafood stands. Hey, I have a deal on some laptops for you. Well, one, they're probably stolen, and two, they're probably infected. And
You can see apps falling out the back of the truck.
It's too, or off the back of the truck. If it's too good a deal, if it looks too good to be true, don't click on it. Another thing, when the U.S. specifically with stimulus checks, there are a lot of scams going around about that too. People having phishing campaigns and, you know, get this, download this, you know, get your stimulus check, or give us your information and you get your stimulus check. Well, the IRS does not call people. The government doesn't call people. They either mail or send it direct deposit.
Yeah.
But people have been scammed out of that. So a lot of the targets are elderly people like myself. And that's a bad joke, I know, but the people tend to target people tend to target people they think they're easy game. And a lot of time it could be personal, it could be a competitor, somebody who's attacking your business, but just in general, the hackers en masse, if you will, are looking for the easy prey. So they're just scanning, they're using automated tools to scan the internet to find open ports and things that are vulnerable that can be hacked. They don't know who's behind it, nine times out of 10 probably, unless it's specifically targeted to you. Somebody wants to take you down or harm your business, like a competitor, for example. Not saying that's happened, but again, it's usually just looking for the easy targets, the target of opportunity. So they're like trolls. They just go wherever they can cause mayhem. And, you know, like the Geico commercial, I'm mayhem, or whichever, whatever those insurance commercials is, causing mayhem. And they look for the target of opportunity in the easy target. And the people that are easiest to fool are people that are more trusting, who click on the link or download the app or send around the game or the chain letter or the joke or the anything that can have anything embedded in it. It's just it's a sad state of affairs, especially when they're attacking hospitals. But the hackers are very bored now, and unfortunately they have more free time on their hands. So if they would use that skill and talent for good, it would be amazing. But that's not the case. Yes, ma'am.
So someone just gets there, like one of the most vulnerable websites out there is WordPress. And we have a program where we can set up WordPress to be 99%, hack-free with a 100-point system. But, then there's the other websites are a little bit harder, like PHP and HTML and all that sort of stuff. So if, I forgot my question now, if somebody gets hacked, what is the, I know we can fix it, but to actually know if their computer has been, what's the word I want, affected. So say that somebody snuck into the back of their computer without them knowing, what's a good program that they can use? I know there's lots of ones that you have running in the background all the time doing a security check, but to actually check their computer first, quite often there's free ones out there that you can go in and run a scan on your computer. What would you suggest to everybody to actually do? First and foremost, make sure your computer's clean by running this.
Well, there are actually several tools, and I don't recommend specifically just one vendor, but make sure you have an antivirus scanner and run that, a malware scanner, and another one for adware. There is one by Lavasoft's adware. You can get a free version of that, but you have the McAfee, the Symantec, just a good antivirus program. You also have some that are based out of Russia, so we won't comment on that. They're good tools, but then again, you don't know where the back end they just being shared either. But on a client level, that meaning a laptop or a phone or a tablet or a device that you're actually using on your end, the end user's end, not the server end where the host is, but on your end, the client side, meaning what you're using, the computer or the laptop or the tablet. Always just look and see if you notice a sluggish, if it's going slower is one sign of infection. If things are just kind of going screwy, they're not performing as normal, look at that. And I also look at on the Windows system, for example, something as simple as Task Manager. I'm familiar with what runs a Windows system, and I go in there and look at the processes that are running. You go Task Manager and processes. If you see something you don't look familiar with, a lot of EXEs, executables, things that look really bloated or taking up a lot of utilization of your system, you can see just by looking at Task Manager on a Windows system. You can look and see what's taking up a lot of cycles, a lot of utilization. And if anything spikes on that, then you could have an attack by a botnet. They could be using it for crypto mining or
watch this one afterwards as well, because my computer's running a little slow at the moment.
And it's not always a hacker. But here's one tip, and I have to remember to do this myself. Don't keep too many things on your desktop, because your desktop is going to have all your files on it. Put your files on the filing system, whatever that is, whether you have a hard drive partition or whatever you use, whether you use a storage space, where you use cloud storage, just don't have your desktop cluttered up with too much junk, because it takes it longer to load. So organize your files a little better, delete duplicates, basically housekeeping stuff. It'll also make it run a little bit faster. Also defrag the hard drive, run the defragmenter, that sort of thing. Make sure you keep everything updated, and even change your password. Hopefully you have encryption on your hard drive as well, in case you lose your laptop or your device or tablet. But make sure you have that password protected as well. So if you leave it at a coffee shop somewhere, somebody can't just walk by and get it, or you'll make them work for it. And I think you asked earlier if anything could be hacked. So here's the thing. Always make sure you have a good backup, and just assume that it can be hacked, then you have a recovery plan, because anything essentially in the world, whether it's binary, the ones and zeros, anything hypothetically can be hacked. It's just a matter of what we call the work effort. That's how much time and energy is it going to take for somebody to get in there, and you want to make the work effort harder to make it not worth their while. And they want to go for the low hanging fruit, the target of opportunity, what's easiest to get in. They're just scanning for what's vulnerable, and they'll pass you over if it looks like it's too much work, it'll take too long. So having good encryption on your hard drive, a really good long password that's complex, that takes them longer to crack. So they'll go to the easier target. And then if your site does get taken down, which is back on the availability triad of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, if it's taken down, make sure you have a plan to get it back up, or even have a second host. I like to have a secondary web host in a different geographic region, not just for hackers. You also have environmental things that can happen, like natural disasters. This maps to the business continuity planning as well, which is really important now, not just to keep businesses surviving, but thriving from now and in the way forward when everything gets back to quote normal. You can have earthquakes or floods or tornadoes, depending on what part of the world you live in. So if your data center, your hosting provider, gets taken out by a natural disaster, then what? Well, a good idea is to have a second plan where you have a different hosting provider with a backup that you can fail over to fairly quickly in a different geographic area with a different type of environmental threat. So it's not just man-made threats. It's it's nature as well.
I think that's an area too a lot of people don't think about. That's one area I never thought about. What happens if the laptop just gets flown away, right? In a some sort of natural disaster, right? Like all of this is just things that we don't think of as business owners or just as human beings, really. Like, yeah, valuable, very, very valuable. So are you stating as well two-step verifications could be hacked as well, potentially?
Well, maybe one step up could. I mean, biometrics are the best, where you have facial recognition or your thumbprint, that sort of thing. But I mean, anything is possible in the world of hackers with enough time and effort and determination. It's just a matter of making it more difficult.
And they got a lot of time right now.
Well, they got to want something that you've got to hack you that bad anyway.
Yeah,
and they have to want you pretty badly to make it, to stick to you. So hopefully you don't have many enemies that want to do, or any stalkers like someone we know, has those sort of people that they won't go there. But
I've got no crazy stalkers yet, so that I know of.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Keep it on the down low. I hope that helps as a start. And, there's so much content we could cover in this space. I mean, I've been doing it, like 18, almost 19 years, and I spent a lot of time at the Pentagon, and I've done everything from entry level to the senior level. So if you have questions, shoot, go ahead.
So like, I guess we've covered a lot around your triad of obviously protecting businesses, etc. Now, when it comes to like a business, right, and how a business can protect themselves against potential risk, I guess there's many different things. There's aspects around websites. They're going to have other assets within the business, systems. They're going to have, other software, like third-party softwares that they use, all this sort of stuff. There's going to be email addresses, customer contact numbers, most likely credit card details. They're going to have, third-party payment systems as well. So a lot of businesses, when they run online, they've got, other aspects there as well, like that take payments, like PayPal and Stripe and all these other systems, and then there's, you know, there's other ones that can connect to those too, and there's so many moving parts. Is there, like, do you have some recommendations potentially around sort of how, like, any sort of systems or any sort of security type stuff that people could use in order to, you know, have a higher chance of protecting themselves against any sort of outside things that could happen?
Yeah, actually I do. And I wanted to add to that. It could be something that's also personnel related. So it's also your personnel vetting. For example, if somebody's handling sensitive data, for example, in a hospital or a business where it could involve health information as well as financial information, do you have a policy? So it's also, it's the policy, the security controls around the technology and the people and the environmental controls. For example, do you have background screening for your people in sensitive positions? Maybe a drug test, that sort of thing. So that's part of the due diligence. And where you're a business owner or a senior executive, when you have liability for the company, or if you're a publicly traded company and you have stockholders, part of your due diligence is vetting all of that. It's vetting the security controls from an infrastructure level, from environmental controls level, and from personnel and you know, that sort of physical controls area. So you have to do due diligence. So what I recommend people do, and I'll make this available here in the near future through you, is a self-assessment checklist that I'm going to create, because I want to help the little guy and the big guy succeed. And with all this craziness going on around right now, I have a little bit of extra bandwidth in addition to serving my primary corporate clients as well. So I'm going to offer that for free and make that available to you. It's a self-assessment checklist. I'm just getting a little tongue tied. Let me get a drink here. A
So
self-assessment
is going to be, I'm going to hack into your systems and see if I can hack, see if we can make it work.
Well, there's the done for you, and then there's the kind of do it yourself. The basic level is, like I'm going with the fundamentals tonight, is to actually have people calling me. There's actually phone never stops. There's that's why I turned the volume down. Sorry. The
That's all good.
yeah.
It's the alarms you've got to watch out for. I've had two go off and I'm like, oh, stop that, stop.
Unfortunately, the sausage dogs are being quiet because they're in the back of the house. My two little wiener dogs normally bark when I get on a conference call or a Zoom.
Oh, damn. I'm sure
We're
everyone
lucky so far, knock on wood.
as well.
They're my security dogs. Yeah, they're good guard dogs. So that's fortunate. But so the self-assessment checklist is more of just the way to go through and see if you have these things. Do you have policies that govern this? Do you check your people out that handle sensitive data? Do they have background checks? Do they have drug screens? Are they somebody you've never met? Depending on if you're outsourcing them or not. And depending on what level of risk that you're taking there. So it's all about the due diligence. And then there'll be another section on the self-assessment checklist that would cover, you know, your websites and the physicals, your infrastructure, IT type of questions. And the other would be, you know, making sure that if some people run their own servers, not a lot of people, but some people do, making sure that they're physically secure, that somebody can't get access to them, or even from the telco connection. If you have so many people working from home now, just as an example, some of the telcos aren't really secure depending on where you are in the world. You may have a really good connection through a corporate virtual private network, but the actual telephone company may be stuck up on telephone poles. Depending on the country, it may just be wide open in the middle of the countryside with telephone poles leaning or strung through, and that's where your last mile connection is, through the telecommunications company. So you want to look at your hosting provider as well as your telco and see how secure physically. Can somebody just go tap into that line like an old-fashioned telegraph wire out in the Wild Wild West in the US, where you had telegraph lines, then they were just open, they're in the middle of nowhere, and anybody could have just come by and cut the line or tap into the line and eavesdrop, right? So that sort of thing. So you want to look at everything within the IT structure, your third-party providers as well as your telco, last mile coming into your house if you're working from home. How secure is that? Is it underground? Is it protected? Is it a good cable? All kind of nerdy things that I won't get into here, but it's to that level of granular detail. And that's something you can just run through and check off yourself. The other is, for you, since I have some extra bandwidth, I'm going to do 3 free offers. If I can get to that now or later, doesn't matter when. Is now a good time?
Yeah, go for it. Hit us with it.
For one person in your audience, I'm going to give a $7,700 value, which is a full-scale cybersecurity audit, as a gift, because I want to help the little guy out. And the other 2 are 2 free business continuity plan reviews. If they don't have one, I'll help them write it. If they have one, I'll review it and suggest improvements. And that's a $2,770 value for your other 2 people. So
yeah.
One takes a lot more time and work, is more time intensive because it's a full-scale audit from A to Z. So
yeah.
One person, you decide how they get it, whether they comment or whatever they do, kind of raffle it, whatever. So one person gets the full cybersecurity audit worth $7,700, and two more people, because I want to do more than just one, gets a $2,770 offer, which is to review or help write their business continuity plan, which is really appropriate at this time with the virus going around, because a lot of people are having struggles with continuity.
That's incredibly valuable. Thank you so much. I didn't ask you to give away things for free on here, so I know how valuable your time is, being you've worked in, you do mainly government projects, like really big security projects for people, so, and a very high level of clearance throughout all of that. So I really do appreciate that. Anyone that is interested in that, just type info into the comments, and Cheri will be able to reach out to you specifically for that. So let's sort of move this forward a little bit more. So we've dove deeper on sort of, I guess, what it is, why it's important, and how people can really protect themselves, etc. And we have spoken a lot around how, you know, people can protect their information as well, and different things, systems they can use, and so on too. So I don't know, is there anything further you believe would be of valuable for a business to keep in mind when, you know, they're either protecting data or anything? Because I know, like, it brought my memory back as well, because there's a client of ours not that long ago that had their whole Facebook account hacked. So the hackers hacked in, got access to it, got into their ads manager, placed an ad, put $5,000 a day on it while he was sleeping, and then he woke up, noticed that a couple of payments had hit his bank account, his credit card, and then went into his ads account and noticed that an ad was there, and then before he knew it, next thing, the whole ads account was wiped out of his whole you know, Facebook. And not only that, his credit card was still attached to it too, and still spending. So then you got to kind of get in touch with Facebook, which is a challenge as well. And that was one situation. Another one was, I had another client quite a while ago now, had some team members who had worked with them for quite a while, had access to absolutely everything of theirs, websites, email databases, everything, and just went through and deleted everything. Disgruntled employee, just deleted absolutely everything. They had nothing, that person was the person that was trusted with everything, and everything was completely wiped. So it's like, it's not only protecting yourself online, cyber wise, but I know you've also touched on making sure that we've got backups. We're backing things up. It's not just, you know, one person that has access to everything like this one person did. And yeah, is there anything further you can add, or anything like that you believe could be valuable for businesses to keep in mind when sort of, you know, all these different types of situations can happen, and when they do, it's like other ways that we might be able to just make sure that we're protected just in case something like this does come up? Any sort of tips, any sort of thought patterns, anything you believe could help?
Well, absolutely, Jarrod. In the scenario you mentioned last there, where you have what we call an insider threat, in addition to having the background checks and the drug screen, what I like to recommend to people is to have a practice or policy in place where you have what's called separation of duties and also rotation of duties. So if you have more than one person doesn't just do all the sensitive stuff and have all the keys to the kingdom. You have person A do it, and person B also cross-trained to do it. And so you separate the duties. You have one to check and balance. Say if somebody for spending, let's just say accounting, this is a type of a security control, not just a nerdy control, but say if somebody has the authorization to go out and find something that you need to acquire for your business, another person should have the authority to approve that. The same person shouldn't have the authority to go out and find it and spend up to a certain threshold of a financial limit without a higher level review, depending on what size of the company is. But as many people as you can have some sort of check and balance. It's kind of like the different branches of government, where one just can't run willy-nilly and have the power to do everything. That's separation of duties. The other is rotation of duties. Have person A and B take turns doing different duties. The other is forced vacations. Make somebody take time off, because if you have somebody doing managing something really sensitive, and they're never away, and the person never takes vacation, that always raises a red flag for me. It's like, why are they always here? Are they data mining? Most people take a few days here and there. So you might have to have a policy, a blanket policy, so you don't get sued and you have to run this through the lawyers and all that. But just a blanket policy as a corporation, as an entrepreneurship. There's a policy that all staff have to take some sort of vacation at some point in time. And why you do that is the same reason. You'll be able to discover over a week's time what's not right. Whereas if they don't take vacations or you don't rotate the staff, if you don't separate the duties, you might not find that insider threat. And so those are really easy policy type things you can do. So all of it's not buying a tool. It's not automation. It's not the really sexy stuff. Like, I got this tool, I'm going to hack the crap out of you. A lot of it's just common sense and having policies in place and thinking business. What could happen to my business if this? What if I have a trusted insider that does this? Well, you rotate the duty, you separate the duty, and you make them take vacation every now and then so you can have somebody come in behind them and do that job and see if anything is off. And if people are offended by that, I say tough. It's business. And you have to protect your assets and your business and your clients' data, because you have the due diligence to do, and you have the fiduciary responsibility to protect their data and your assets. And data is the new oil, is the saying. Data is the new oil. It's all about the data, or data, depending on where you're from in the world. The data or the data. It's all about the data.
I thought it was all about content. Content is king, they say. Oh, that's something else different. SEO.
That's a different type of data. That's a different type of data. That's not customer data. That's more along the lines of the intellectual property and the confidentiality. If you remember the triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, we have the triangle. Yeah.
Correct. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for today, Cheri. I know it's getting later over there where you are on the East Coast, so I really do appreciate you jumping on today, and yourself, SERENA, as well. You both look amazing, and yeah, really excited because this information is something that I guess it's not probably what you would call a sexy subject, talking about like security, just in case someone steals all my assets in my business or whatever. It's not a sexy subject, but it's a subject that needs to be, like, it's a conversation that needs to be had for every single business that watches the show or that it touches base with, because like, if it does happen, it's going to be a very expensive exercise to fix. You know, building websites from scratch again and getting developers to develop that for you, and a whole database is gone. So it's like physically, you know, touching base with people in other places that you've got them, and it's just like it's going to be an absolute mess. And it's important for anybody to be able to just get this sorted before it happens. And those freebies that you've offered people as well, I'm sure people will absolutely love that.
Before you close off, actually, it's something that came up. It's not quite inside a computer cyber security, but it is a security, and it's something that a lot of people don't take much care with, is your Facebook account. Everybody thinks that having a lot of friends is going to maybe increase their business or something like that. And what's happening on Facebook is there are people out there who are setting up fake accounts, sometimes mimicking other people. So if you're already a friend, so say, for example, somebody set up an account and they called it Cheri, and then they tagged me to be a friend. And I went, oh, I know Cheri, so I'll add her, not realizing that, hang on, we're already friends. So this must be either another account or I don't look. And it's just somebody who wants to get access to as many people as possible because they're a spammer, a scammer, or whatever it is. So when somebody tagged you to be a friend, and I've got over 3,000, and I take the time to check each one and make sure they're a real person. And there's different ways that you can do this. And one of them is you go through and make sure they've got content. If they don't have a picture and they've got no content there, maybe they were only just recently built or made or something like that, I won't add them. If I think they look a bit fishy, I won't add them. If I go into their and it doesn't necessarily mean just because they've got 100 friends the same as you that they're real, because I found fake ones through that as well. I've gone so far as to actually check their images that just seem too perfect, you know, with your aeroplane or done up in the suit. So I'll right click it, search on Google for this image, and I'll find that they've actually taken those photos off another website. I know straight away. So I warn the people who are friends, hey, watch out for this guy. He's a scammer, and he's probably trying to sell them an investment or something. Go through their content and see if people are actually answering them and what type of people are doing it. So you know, don't just add people just for the sake of building up your friends list, because you're adding fake people. And what happens is they then start to go and add all your friends. And then the list grows and grows because people are just adding them. That's always been a big thing for me. And I warn people about it all the time, because it can lead to some type of being hacked, you know, in a different sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a social engineering. It's a way to worm your way into a community. It's a social engineering in a negative way. Exactly. That's a great idea. I've seen that happen too. Yes, report. You can report that to Facebook. Report it as spam. Report it as fake account. There's several different things you can report under there, and I've seen you actually do that in some of our groups. Yeah.
Who's this bloody SERENA reporting these people all the time? Sometimes I get replies from them. And they say, "Oh no, we think this person's all right." I go, "You idiot! Can't you see?"
Awesome. So how would people get in touch with you, Cheri? Should they want to take you up on either the continuity plans or you know, some of the checks and so on as well that you personally offered today?
Okay, well, as you said, comment in the info there below so you can see who's there. You can also email this account directly. It's a really short Gmail account that I just have for specific things. And it's JITSCC. J is in John, I is in India, T is in Tango, S is in security, E is in Echo, C is in confidentiality at Gmail. So JITSCC@gmail.com.
Yeah, cool.
And then I'll reply back with also everybody who sends a message to JITSCC@gmail will get a copy of the free self-assessment checklist when that's done. And if I have a copy of the questions that people are coming in, that'll also help inform that as well, because I know what people need, but there may be something out there that they have a question about that's a one-off question that's not the fundamentals and something that's unique to their situation, depending on what country they're in, or what geographic region, or what industry, or what their natural threats are, in addition to the man-made ones.
Okay.
And if you want to have your website checked properly, just drop a note in, I'm looking over to the left there because I've got the live on over there. Just drop a message in there, or send us a private message or something like that. We can actually make your WordPress site much more secure and create continuous backups for you as well too.
Cool. Great. I did have a question via email come through not long ago as well, so I will hit this one up as well.
Sure.
So this one's from George. George just said, is it worthwhile to subscribe to a password manager service where they hold your passwords?
Yes, you can either get the client software that you download, or use something that's web-based, as long as they have good security. It'll help you remember if you're not writing them down on the sticky notes. Yeah, the password manager.
And there's a different one for Mac and a different one for Windows, and there's some major ones out there that are pretty safe. So
yeah, so it's if you can't remember your password, it's not a good thing. And if it's so complex and so good and so strong that you can't remember it and you write it down, that's almost as bad. And another tip for people who are teleworking now is something a lot of people haven't thought about in the workforce. It's whoever else is in your home and has access to things. So say you didn't have time to get a corporate issued laptop, or you have your team and you didn't have time to have them buy laptops, and you have them just basically go out and buy it at Office Depot or Best Buy or wherever they can buy something on demand. Because I know I went to buy something and they were sold out. All the technology was like a run on a bank. Or toilet paper run. They made a run on all the technology things, and the laptops and the monitors were all sold out. The models I wanted is because people were doing the telework or the work from home, and they didn't have a chance to get everything issued to them. So they're cleaning out the aisles of the technology items. So what they do is they get that new computer, and it may not be set up correctly because it's out of the box, right? It may have default everything, and it needs to be updated, and it also needs to be locked down with a password or screensaver, especially so people in the household, or people coming in and out of your house, can't just see what's on there. So it's also the physical security of the workspace where you are. If you have kids who like to play games, make sure they know this is mommy or daddy's laptop. This is not for games. You play on this device over here. This is for work. This is for business. This is being reimbursed by the company that I work for. So when you have your employees working from home now, as much as the case with the virus going around, make sure that they know to lock those things down. Make sure they have hard disk encryption. Give them that option. Make sure they're using passwords. Make sure they're keeping it secure and not letting everybody in the household, or even like service providers, somebody comes in to look at the dishwasher. Make sure that the screen's not open, seeing customer data when somebody's coming in and out of the house, for example. So there's that. And a lot of people haven't thought about that. They're just kind of finding a workspace wherever they can. What I mean, because a lot of it's not planned well, it's ad hoc. It's just nobody really saw something of this magnitude coming, where the world kind of stops in motion and businesses are shut down and countries are shut down and borders are closed. It's I hate to use the word unprecedented because I'm tired of hearing it, that and pivot, but you have to pivot in these unprecedented times and set yourself up for secure telework. So I'm sorry, I joke about that, but those are two words I hear so much of. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking as well when you were talking about, doing an encryption type of password or something like that. Now, there's a couple of things I've done, because, you have to remember the password to get into your password site. And I put everything in my password site, links, and not even just passwords. It's got all my information in there. So that's quite easy for me to have on my phone, my iPad. And whenever I need something, I just go in and get it. But at one stage I was sort of thinking, what if something happened to me? People wouldn't be able to get my information or anything like that. So at one stage I did two lists. I did a list of some of the most important programs, and then I did a list of the passwords. I sent one to my sister and I sent one to my brother. Totally separated. Nobody knew what they were for, and just said, if anything happens, just bring them together and then you'll be able to get all my stuff and, work out, what's going on, or, my insurance or anything like that. If something happens to your computer, you can just call someone in the family and say, hey, that number I gave you, what is it again, type of stuff, just as a that last minute backup.
I like that. Yeah, or put it in a sealed envelope where you sign your initials on the top so you can see if the envelope's been cracked or steamed open, and put it in a fireproof safe in your house as well, so you have a backup in case something ever happens to you, or God forbid you get amnesia or something. Well, I don't remember anything. You're in an accident or something, you have amnesia. Well, just go in your fireproof safe and crack open the sealed envelope with your handwriting, and whoever you delegate to have access to that. And in the case of your incapacitation or demise, like you said, you set up, is a great plan.
Yeah,
that's good planning. I gave mine to my brothers. Yeah. So kind of morbid stuff, but you have to think about the worst case scenario and what could happen. And I don't like to instill fear and pain and panic in people. There's enough of that going around the world right now. But it's things, if you own a business or you're responsible for other people and their livelihoods, their jobs, that you have to do your due diligence and take it seriously, because you could lose the assets, you could lose your reputation, you could lose money, you could lose fines, you could lose business. Most of all, it's your reputation, and especially in my profession. Once you lose your reputation, it's really hard to get it back, and often your reputation is your biggest asset.
Correct. I agree with that. I agree. Cool. Wonderful. Well, Leah, thanks so much for jumping on today. We're out of questions. There's nobody else asked any more questions. So everyone's just really enjoyed the information that's been today as well. And I have too, because it's been very, very enlightening, very enlightening. And I'm sure there'll be other people that may have some questions there in the comments later on that watch the recording as well. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Cheri. I really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Cheri.
On as well, SERENA.
Jarrod,
Yeah, for any of you that want an audit done, it's completely free. It's several $1,000s to get access to one of these audits, these proper security audits, and from somebody who does a lot of high-level clearance, government contracts as well, thousands to get these audits done. So type info below into the comments on this video for anyone who wants to grab access to that. There's only 3 spots, 3 real spots, because Cheri does a lot of government stuff as well. So, and her time's very, very, she's got lots on at the moment. So, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for jumping on. 12 o'clock as well today. We've got our show. I've got some wicked content for you guys to share today on the show. So tune in today at 12 o'clock Perth, Western Australia time. Grab your coffee. Let's do this. And yeah, anyone else that's got any questions with relation specifically to cybersecurity or would like an audit done, type info or type your comment below. We'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. See ya. Thanks, Cheri.
You're welcome. Stay safe out there.
Bye.